Early. There we go. Sent Abdul and Larry the. Yeah, don't ever play that sport. Horrible. The worst game, and I've played lots of games that was the worst. Not even close. Oh yeah, even watching it, just forget it. Yeah, just forget it. Horrible.
Welcome to Leap Sales with Ian Nethercott and Larry Feldman live.
If you look at the last 4 years, Ian, we've answered 41 million phone calls for dealers over the last 4 years with our AI platform. We've also handled over 150 million text messages. And so when you look at just those raw numbers, that's a 4-to-1, 3.5, 4-to-1 text to phone call. So I don't know. Here's what I can tell you, though. I believe that the customer wants to be met where they are presently. If that is text, voice, video call, if they want to be engaged and engaged instantly.
Rock and roll. So I guess, Larry, you came up with the show title, so maybe you can share your thinking.
Yeah, well, Nissan is trying to make a strong comeback. If you remember, it wasn't that long ago that they announced they were out of cash.
Yep.
And certainly Chrysler, I got a few real good buddies that own Chrysler stores. They're working and doing everything they can to roll back. So I thought, I bet you everybody has some kind of comeback story.
Well, they need a new marketer.
What's that?
Nissan's global marketer quit and went to General Motors. So someone needs to get a job.
Yeah. Listen, it happens. The car business is incestuous. You're here and then you're there. You knew this guy. Anywhere you go, you find out you know somebody, you work with them, somebody work with them. So I thought, gosh, there's got to be comeback stories from everybody. Like you had, what you didn't have, what you thought you had. And sometimes they're amazing. In my book, if you remember, Ian, I talk about the Iacocca.
Yeah.
He got bounced by Ford, and he basically turned around and saved Chrysler. He got the loan, he paid it back, he came out with the minivan. So I just thought it'd be interesting to hear personal comeback stories, things where people were here and then they were there, and what transpired in what direction. Mine really wasn't so much of a comeback. It was I was a salesman and then a dealer, and then I helped somebody with recruiting and training. And who would have guessed 14 years later, here I am running all over the country and a little bit in Canada, having fun doing it. But I think life is really just nothing but transitions. You grow up, you grow old, you get married, you get divorced, all kinds of things happen. So I thought it might be interesting to explore the different changes people go through, whether it's a comeback, whether it's something else. We got Gene with us. And Jeff, I made that call we talked about earlier, my buddy. I'll fill you in after the show. And Gene, it's good to see you, my buddy.
Maybe you could talk about Nissan. Maybe you could talk a little bit about Nissan because they've been down before. Like I worked for Nissan corporate when Ghosn was a thing, and he brought them back from dead. Like they were down and out. I mean, it's possible. I mean, granted, he went to jail for it, but before he did that, he did turn the whole thing around. So, maybe they need a remote CEO to advise the new guy.
He went from being a powerful guy running an organization to being smuggled out in the trunk of a car.
Yeah. Well, he survived though.
By the way, if we're talking about transitions, how about the little mini disaster when they decided to stop calling themselves Datsun and started calling themselves Nissan? That wasn't a smooth transition.
Yeah, I mean, I think Nissan is definitely a car company that's had its ups and downs, and I wouldn't count them out. But I mean, it wasn't that long ago that Honda was talking about buying them, and Honda's had a pretty rough go lately too. So, but the one that I think is going to really shake everything up. They're going to need a remote CEO to advise the new guy. Yeah, I mean, the one that's really interesting that I watched I think yesterday or this morning. He survived though. was the Larry? You're echoing again. I think it's you.
I'm not on two things.
But your TV's on.
Your TV's on, probably.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Somebody says.
There's an echo going on. That's on.
What's happening is you're saying something that's repeating.
Okay, it's fine now. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, I mean, the thing that's interesting specifically around, because I know we've talked a little bit on the show about EVs. I was watching a thing this morning on a new battery technology using salt as opposed to ion or lithium, sorry. And that battery is not only under development or under manufacturing, it solves all the problems. So it solves the range problem, it solves the cost problem, and it solves the temperature problem. And the thing,
some batteries were used on Navy. That's what's used on submarines. So the nuclear reactor actually powers the salt batteries. Actually, the old diesel submarines powered salt batteries. That's what they, drove around when they went on silence. And they were huge in the diesel subs, but on today's subs, they're not that big. And really, it's just the nuclear generates steam power, and then they charge the salt power, whatever the salt powered batteries. So I remember they taught me at Connecticut submarine school.
Yeah.
About it, but I mean, they go for a very long time, for months. I mean, it's really impressive technology. I'm just surprised they can make it small enough to fit in a car, but I've been away from that for, I don't know.
Dave, this is a weird question to ask you because you're everywhere. Have you ever been to the Ford Museum in Detroit?
No, I haven't. I've always wanted to go there.
The reason I ask it is besides having the Lincoln that Kennedy was traveling in when he got unfortunately assassinated, they have one of the first computers. It's literally like the length of a hallway. It's gigantic. I was dealing with somebody that had one of the first car phones, a portable. It was like this big. Okay, the technology keeps getting smaller and smaller and more impressive. And rolling along. I mean, it's kind of interesting to think where the world will be in 2 or 3 years when you look how quickly technology has evolved in the last few years. And while we can argue all day long, I'm a proponent of human beings. Imagine what diseases and inroads might be made and cured by AI. We can debate whether it's better to have an AI answer your phone or you answer your phone. But you can't debate the fact that they're making serious inroads here with some pretty stubborn diseases.
I mean, it's the speed and the massive data that it can sort through, and it doesn't deal with the emotions and the guessing part of it. It will make up bullshit because it just doesn't have it. The prediction models of today doesn't have the ability to go outside a lot of times to pull in new data. Some AIs do, and it can scan a page. But most of the stuff they're seeing is just stuff. That's why data storage is so much. It's just stuff it already knows. And it knows about you specifically. So that's where the bigger guardrail is. But you see all these studies right now where AI has been improving stuff in the healthcare system. It's just like the bigger problem I have is that when you're trusting an AI to diagnose you, and I was watching a Star Trek episode, and it had a computer that scanned you, and the AI literally was giving you all the answers, and the doctor was just reading off what the AI told him. So he wasn't really doing anything differently. So, but I mean, is that really any different? Well, I think people are different than a car, but nowadays everybody has to hook up a computer to a car to diagnose it. They can't work on it without connecting the computer.
David, on a personal note, I played doctor with a lot of girls in elementary and junior high school. That would have been much less fun if there was AI involved.
Well, there's still probably AI involved.
That game was called Operation, Larry.
I hated that game. I would lose it all the time. I hated that buzzer. Let's play Operation. But if you think about computing, though, I mean, the Egyptians, going back to history, and you're a history buff, Larry, I mean, they were already doing basic math to define all of our computers back then. I mean, they literally created binary code to figure out, how PCs work. And then it was just a series. I mean, they were writing other languages before we ever thought about it. So it makes you wonder about that culture.
The
It
culture.
it wasn't them, it was aliens. Okay, go ahead.
These aren't the Egyptians you're looking for.
Right, listen. One of the things that separates us from animals is that we can creatively and intuitively think. The Mayans were able to chart the stars without a telescope. But when you look at the way people were able to maneuver and do things well before the technology we had, it strictly comes down to the most complex thing on the planet is the human brain. Because AI can calculate 1 billion times quicker than we can, but it can't add in emotions. It can't add in feelings. And if you separate feelings from human beings, I don't know what the heck you have left. But by the way, Rhonda, when they eventually catch up with me for all my evil deeds, I decided I'm not going to get a lawyer. I'm going to get Fauci to represent me. He can just say I'm taking the fifth 104 times.
We can just record it, and you can use the recording.
You need Monty Python. You just need a big hand to come and smack this guy out.
So yeah, comeback story. I guess you could argue Trump won and then he lost and then he won again. That's the biggest one recently that I can think of.
The Trump comeback is the most seismic event in the history of politics, because if you think about it, listen, I like action movies. Okay, I just enjoy them. I think we all do. It gets a little, stress after watching guys do crazy stuff. But they tried to jail him. They tried to bankrupt him. And I know a lot of smart people that said this is going to be bad because they're going to make Trump the nominee. There's no way he can win. And it's funny because this is the second time that Trump had no chance of winning. David, I was visiting a dealership and I had dinner with a friend of mine the night that Trump beat Hillary. And we sat down, and here's what we said. Man, Hillary Clinton is annoying, but it's a shame because there's no way Trump has a shot. He won. And the second time was even crazier. An astonishing comeback. But we see him all the time because people react in the ways they shouldn't react. I was just coaching. I got into a little bit of sports at one of my classes. Think about the 28-3 halftime when Atlanta had the Patriots down.
Oh yeah, that was
And
wonderful.
how silly-
I watched that and I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah, well, but it was silly watching Brady run around. It's almost just it felt like, man, sit down and shut up. You're down 28-3. But the second hero in all that, besides Brady, who played amazingly well and never let his spirits lag, was the coach of the Falcons, because he did the one mistake you should never make. Don't get conservative when you have a lead. I got some real heavy-duty sports fans on there. One of the great dynasties in the history of sports lost a game they should have never lost, and that was when John Wooden wouldn't change up the tempo against North Carolina State and beat the team with Walton and all those guys. A lot of comebacks are allowed by the circumstances around them and all the integers that we don't figure in or we don't see coming until afterwards. Really, really interesting. But forget about me. I'm out of my mind. Gene, let's hear a comeback story. That was our whole point here. Nissan's trying to come back. Chrysler's trying to come back. What have you gone through in your life where it was like you were here and you were there and then you got back up to there?
Oh my God, there's been.
Now wait a minute. Let me preface this with the fact that Gene recently called me for advice, which means that he's a wrong person to count on because he's obviously mentally unstable. I heard him tell his wife when she said, "You're calling Larry Feldman for advice." He says, "I have to. Idi Amin is dead, and he's the next most logical person." Go ahead, Gene.
Well, with that said, I've had lots of ups and downs my entire career in my adult life. But I think the main one that I could pinpoint is, in the '08, I was a general manager of a store and made ridiculous money. And, the market started taking hits. They said, hey, Gene, we're going to cut your salary in half. I'm like, fine. I'm still making plenty of money, no big deal. But then they came back a year later and said, we got to cut it in half again. And then that was a big problem. It says, now I got to go back and go find a job somewhere, And ultimately, they ended up getting rid of upper management anyway. I went back to selling cars from a GM to a salesman and had to work my way back up. At that same time, I decided to start my own agency, kind of on the side, and I built that to 170 rooftops, just in a matter of probably 3.5 years, 4 years. And then all of a sudden, I was back on top after that 2-year period of time where I didn't know what was going to happen. And who would have known that would have been the path that I needed to take? Because if that didn't happen, I would have still been working day to day into a car dealership.
It's called the law of unintended consequences. Sometimes when things, happen, it doesn't exist in a vacuum, and something can change everything around you. And I think the only thing that's important is just having the perception that things could get better, things could change. Maybe they'll change for the better. Because we all know people that have left the little simplest thing, knock them off the pattern, and they never return.
Well, I wanted to share an interview I did. A guy's name's Luke Lukenheimer. So he had a crazy story. We were doing an interview.
Hey, first of all,
Yeah, go ahead.
first of all, what's wrong with his parents?
Why
Why would you name a kid that?
That's his last name, man. He's German. I don't know.
Luke.
Luke Lukenheimer. Yeah. Anyway,
Sorry.
I'm not making it up. Anyway, so we're doing an interview. We didn't know anything about it. He was a big guy.
I'm
Yeah.
Jewish, and you're complaining about a German naming his kid a funny name. Rhonda, we got to talk to him later.
You could have named him Wolfgang or something. That would have been worse. So anyway, we're interviewing this guy. He walks in. He looks like he can throw you through a wall. And then we're doing this interview. It was like a guy at a used car conference. So we're like, oh yeah, it's just a used guy or car guy owns some dealerships. Then he starts telling us his life story. And he's like, well, I want to play pro ball, and then I hurt my knee, and I couldn't play or shoulder or something, and then couldn't play. And then someone said that they could fix it, and then that got him hooked on painkillers. And then he was working in the car business, and then he started stealing from the guy he was working for, and then he went to jail. So then he eventually got out of jail. The guy who prosecuted him believed that he could turn his life around and invested in him to start used car franchises. And now he's got 6, and he also does training. But the thing that was crazy about it was it's like you would have never thought that this interview was going to go that way. Like it was like a movie script. And we're sitting there going, holy crap. But the thing that was really interesting about it was, to your point, Gene, it was he just rolled with what happened to him. He made mistakes, and he didn't let it stop him moving forward. Like he was like, yeah, I'm gonna do something. And shockingly, the guy who actually, caught him was his investor. He's the guy who believed in the guy. So, at the end of the day, like you never know where you're gonna end up. All you know is that you got to make the best choices you can. And I think that's the challenge sometimes people, at least what I did when I was in my 20s, I thought it was going to be like a series of decisions and then easy town. That didn't at all happen. But when I talk to people that are 25 today, they go, oh, well, I get this education, I get this job, and then I become this. I'm like, it's not quite that simple, but for most people.
So for comebacks, we got to talk about Carvana.
Oh, yeah, go. I saw an interview with them on their bad days. I'll share something. Go ahead.
Those dudes were, 3 legs off the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
$6 a share, I think
Yep.
it went down to.
Yep.
And yeah, and you guys probably know more detail than I do.
Yep.
But it's kind of a reinvention of the whole company, And
Oh,
now
yeah.
they're putting. Look at the things they're putting out there and
Oh, yeah.
throwing their junk on the table.
Oh, yeah.
Saying, we don't know if this will work, but we're willing to try. That has my respect. And obviously, you got to have some dough to be able to make a decision like that. But
Yeah, I saw them being interviewed at Used Car Week. Stu Greenfeld was interviewing one of the co-founders. He didn't show up in person because his stock was in the tank. So he's like, "Oh, you're not here in person, so I'm going to ask you the really hard questions because I can, and you're remote, and you're on a big screen, and there's all these used car guys in the audience like wanting to throw shit at him. If he hadn't been there, they probably would, because they were like, the devil incarnate from a used car point of view." And he asked him a question. He goes, "If you knew how hard this was going to be a couple of years ago when you started this company, would you have done this?" And he goes, "Hell no. I thought this was going to be a lot easier game than it was. It's a pain in the ass. It's very difficult. We have by no means figured it out, but we're going to keep going." And this was when, to your point, Jeff, their stock was at like 6, and they were like, they were over leveraged, and it was. So, I mean, it just kind of goes to show you. I mean, when you look at Elon Musk with his 2 companies that were both failing, and he almost went bankrupt after he went all in on red. I mean, on the 2 hardest industries he could have picked. I mean, at the end of the day, you just gotta push forward. I mean, that's all you can do. And I think they proved that. I mean, I think their latest numbers for Chrysler Store are the highest ever in a month or something crazy. It's just crazy. Like, just the fact that they've maybe not figured it out. But I mean, I guess you can't stop by talking about a company like TrueCar. I mean, they pissed off literally every dealer in the market by trying to lecture them on what they should be doing. So, they're still around. I don't know how profitable, but they stuck with it. But they thought they could lecture dealers on how they run their business. I don't think that's a hill you want to die on, but this is my thoughts. Now, that interview is up online on YouTube. If you want to watch it, it's entertaining.
We're talking tonight about comebacks, and we got Russell Hill, who has defeated addiction, been through a million things, and is now run an extremely successful company that is helping dealerships all over. It never gets old hearing about this. Russ, would you like to add something in here, my buddy? You need to hit the unmute button, Russ.
First thing I'd like to say is how grateful I am to Gary Silliman. So in response to your text, yes, they provided me with a car, and that was great. I had to drive 45 minutes in 110-degree temperatures without an AC because the only place I can get my car fixed is at a Genesis dealership. And it's 45 minutes from here. So
Wow.
thank you, Gary Silliman. Okay?
Awesome.
And I was reflecting on 111 pleading the Fifth Amendments in my head. When we were talking. So,
We discussed that before you got.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Briefly, go ahead.
What a
111 degrees, really, for footing? Oh, wow.
yeah, it's just incredible why this couldn't be bipartisan. I don't get it. But whatever, okay? It is what it is. You want to change it, but that's all there is to it. Other than that, we're talking about a company and struggling.
We talked about the fact that Nissan is coming back, I hope, and Chrysler is coming back. And I thought everybody has some kind of personal comeback story. Everybody's encountered some adversity and thought it'd be interesting to talk. And we all get along so well. See what everybody's doing.
Well, I do believe that Nissan is going to turn things around, and the trajectory looks pretty amazing for the following, from 27 and beyond. Chrysler, they're going to do the same thing, I'm sure. I believe that. Those two OEMs alone have a tremendous impact on our company in December and January. It was a bloodbath. But we've already rebounded, which is good. And listen, I believe this. If the dream is big enough, facts don't count. Whatever it is you're chasing, if other people benefit along the way, and you just keep pushing and pushing, and you get up and you do what you need to do, even when you don't feel like it, because it's the next Zoom call you get on, it's the next person you talk to, it's the next email that you send, it's the next corner that you turn. Don't give up before the dream happens.
Good advice.
Hundred
Well, I
percent.
had something too, and Mike Luckman and I were talking earlier today, and, I know we had this topic some weeks ago, but, horrible losses. And I worked for a guy that at the time was the Antichrist.
Really?
With the horns and everything? Wow.
Did you have the tattoo and everything?
Shut up with the pitchfork.
I assume he did.
Louis Cipher, by the way. Yeah.
But, God fortunately fired me from that job.
Yeah.
That was automotive related.
Yeah.
And I was telling Mike earlier, it just makes me so much better today because, man, I'm going to not be that guy
Yeah.
as much as I can on every email, every text, every call, every room that I'm in. But, in the miracle of humanness, I was told before he passed that he became a believer, and so there's hope for everybody. But at the time, again, I'm the guy that always looks for the rose on the manure pile. It's kind of just how I try to look at life, and there's good that came out of it because
Absolutely.
it taught me a lot, and we all been down that road before, man. It hurts at the time, and yeah, as much as I
What's that?
didn't want to get fired,
Mhm.
from that job, God had a different path for me, and
Yeah. I do.
AutoNation picked me up the day after that, so
We
it
really
wasn't
do.
all bad.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's the
Wait a
kind
minute,
of,
I just, one small problem. When you said your boss was the Antichrist, did you notice that Rhonda was nodding her head and saying, I can empathize with you?
You knew him?
No, I think
He's in
that's
Florida,
similar
Rhonda.
to the guy she's
No, we're
working.
talking about bosses.
yeah. Well, I didn't know him, but I knew his twin.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah, I work for the same guy.
password?
No,
I think
Or
Tony,
my-
Tony, you're on mic, Tony
Yeah.
T.
Oh, sorry, guys.
no, you're good. Also, it's really funny. I gotta ask this because earlier I was thinking in my head, which I do a lot of, and I thought Alec Raffini popped into my head. Okay, and I text him. Okay, because I haven't heard or seen him in quite some time, and then I get on and here he is. Now, I didn't even know if you responded to me or not, but I was just letting you know I was thinking about you because it's been quite some time. Is everything okay? And is that the reason you popped on tonight, or were you already going to be on? I just have to know because I'm getting goosebumps because it'd be a God thing,
I will say that I was anticipating being on.
Without ripping
Your text put me on for sure. I actually, what am I turned 57 this year. My wife
Congrats.
has, no longer can work. Long haul COVID, cannot be on a computer for more than 15 minutes without going into a migraine point. Yeah, she ends up in bed and can't get out for over a day. So I sold my house. I moved to Phoenix in the middle of the damn oven season. And
What
I-
9 months? What 9 months was that?
no, my wife keeps telling me it's only for 3 months of the year. Yeah. I've been actually working with the company trying to get on board for about 2.5 years. Talked salary last night. The salary came back well within what I was looking for. And I am anticipating my start date's Monday. And,
Congratulations.
Yeah, all
thank you.
right. That's a comeback.
Yeah, it's been about a 1.5 year journey. I would say that my pride put me into the spot, and it has been a great learning curve and a gift to still come out surviving and thriving and pushing through.
That's all.
I don't care if I have to drive Uber. I don't care what I have to do. I will pay my bill, and I'll make sure my wife's taken care of, and the two of us are gonna be all good.
Damn it, I love you, man. That is awesome.
Exactly.
That is great. That level of commitment. Man, I love you, Jim. Ben Rosette, you are a stud, man. Mike Larkin, he's the guy. He never gives up, man. Never gives up. And neither does Tony Thorstead or Sandy or none of you do.
Yeah, but the problem with Marvin is he got mugged next week. And before the guy could stab him, he said, "Do you know what DATT is?"
Listen, between Mike Larkin and Dave Rosette, you're my go-tos. I'm just telling you right now. They are.
Amen. Amen. I agree 100%.
I mean, inspiring,
Appreciate that.
motivating. I've learned so much from these guys. Tony Thorstead is another one. Ian, actually, all of you. Let me say this. And probably say this. People that focus on the prize are almost always going to pay the price. The people that focus on the price almost never get the prize. Quit focusing on the price. That's what I would say to
Love
people. Yeah.
Hey, Russ, sometimes Tony has to cut out for his Bible meetings. Tony, do you want to jump in? We're talking about personal comebacks or things we've seen or witnessed in literature.
You got one of those too, man.
I got plenty of them. I'm thankful every day, though, I'll tell you that. Personally, I don't have any place to be. We're actually postponed our get-togethers until August the 26th. Everybody's super busy. Funny how that works in the summertime. I've got my share of comebacks, but there's a really good book coming out, right? Sooner or later, that you guys are going to really, really enjoy. And this is about a guy that I met about 3 years ago now, about 3 years ago. Incredible man who has become a dear friend of mine. You might know him, his name's Russell Hill, great guy. He's got the comeback story of all comeback stories. So
True.
thank the Lord for Russell Hill and his comeback
No,
story.
it's just that Tony, listen, I've heard yours too, bro. Let me tell you what, people need to switch it up and hear that.
One of these days. there's
Do you,
probably
hey,
book-
I
book
gotta,
that
since I
come
got you on the hook right now, you know there's a meeting invite. It's been in your inbox for a few days now.
Tomorrow.
Are you okay for tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay.
You and me were, you know, it's funny, today I was with a vendor partner talking about selling me some stuff, and turns out I worked with this fellow with the Boucher Group like 30 years ago. And I started talking to him about Lead with the Switch. And we were going through the Lead with the Switch and some of the things, and he looks at me and he said, you know, you should write a book about this. Russell, you've inspired me.
Imagine that. Hey, I don't know if y'all can't see that. Tony sent me that. That was how many years ago?
That was in 1998, I think. That's a
You
newspaper
can't, you
ad.
can't see it, but yeah, it's a newspaper ad. Well, I tell you what, it was really good, man. I know you don't get it.
That was at a car dealership. I was selling used Cadillacs. And back then, of course, we had the internet, but of course, we spelled email with a hyphen and computer with a K back then. Then we figured it out. Yeah, comebacks. I want to hear some.
Oh, absolutely.
Dave Rosette, we all got them. Dave Rosette, you got one. You had a trans comeback story.
He came back from a stroke.
Yeah, probably
Yeah.
one of the bigger ones recently. But I'll say that, you know, I probably have a comeback story every once in a while when I fire somebody that I'm working for, or they sell the business, because it happens pretty often. I would say even now, I decided that a company dangled a carrot. I jumped in bed with them, brokered their product, and then I kind of realized that they had a real bad reputation in the market. And too many of my friends and dealers that I walked into said, Dave, you really can't be working for this company. You know, they've done this, this, and this, and this OEM won't even let them talk to these dealers. These OEMs were like, please, don't even walk in our door and offer us anything. You know? And I'm like, you know, I got to make a change. Because I was worried about reputation just in the area that I'm in and talking to people, because, you know, when you walk into 200 stores and 80 of them tell you that somebody's a crook that you work for.
Problem.
Yeah, it's a problem with defending constantly.
Red flag.
Yeah, and you know, I didn't do my due diligence, but they also told me that the one owner did didn't work there anymore and that they had new leadership. But when you walk in the door and you realize that they really don't, I was kind of fed a bunch of BS, and that's okay. It's kind of past me. I still will send business their way for certain parts of their company, but because they do actually do a good job for the people that work there. It's just unfortunate the company overall has a bad reputation. But and that's just a little adversity. I wasn't expecting having a $8,000 loss a month right now, and that's okay. But a lot of my friends have come to me and said, "Hey, could you handle my social media? Could you handle my PR? We're having a reputation problem. Can you help me with my culture?" So I've had about 8 of my friends, and some of them in the room that reached out and said, "Hey, what do you think of this?" So I'm very grateful to know everybody in the room and all my friends that have kind of said, "Hey, why don't we do this?" But the biggest challenge I have to figure out, and I think Tony's asked me this before, and some of you guys, Dave, what do you want to do? And I sat with Lori Berkson today, and she's like, "Dave, I can get you hired here, here, and here if you want." And not one of them did I want to do. I didn't want to work for any of the 3 companies, and she even had another gentleman agency call me the other day and offered me a job. But I just told him, I said, I don't know that I want to broker stuff at an agency right now. I said, maybe I just want to build my own stuff, or I want to find a good company, somebody I trust, that's going to be there a lot longer than me going there for 2 or 3 years. I mean, today in fixed ops, all things fixed ops, they were talking about how service managers kind of turn over about every 3 years. And I was like, wow. I said, wait a second. I turn over every 3-4 years. So I started thinking about that. I'm like, when I was a salesman, I didn't have that problem. When I was a sales manager, as long as I did my job and I kept producing, I had no problem. Until they want to nickel and dime your pay plan. You go from 5% to 3% to 2.5%, and yet you're the guy that's running the desk in the show out of everything. So I've been where Gene's been at, and it's kind of scary. And eventually that just gets old. But I think that, I bounced around between 2 groups primarily. I've done a lot of consulting with groups around the country. I have wonderful friends like you guys to help me. So I'm just grateful. Like Tony said, yeah, I'm just grateful to be, to be alive, to be able to make it through the stroke, to be able to do everything else that I've been doing, to be able to be unemployed a lot of months and go, yeah, but I made 20 grand this month. And it's kind of like, I'm not dying, but at the same time, I'm surviving because a lot of people are helping me. But I also don't want to be that guy that just puts his hand in the pocket, tells you to do something, and they trust you, and that's not fixing their problem. And that's probably the biggest adversity I have to get over sometimes on the vendor side. People are like, just sell them the product anyway. If they'll buy it from you, you'll make money on it. But if it's really not helping the dealer, and they can't fix their culture, and they don't have clean data, then it's like, why? It's simple things like a guy that refuses to give you an output to put on, coupons and stuff. Just simple things that, sure, I could sell them a product, but the product's not going to work for you because, you're not picking up the damn phone. So that's where I kind of have a hard time with selling things for people. That if we can't fix the other blind spots, then I'm just selling something that I'm just making a commission on. So morally, it's probably the fault to me. So I've told you guys way too much today.
Why don't you look at doing something? And this is just an idea. But I met a guy. I'm trying to remember what conference I was at. Anyway, he just vetted products.
A guy. Yeah, I know a guy.
He just
I know a guy. I see.
No, he what his job was, and I don't always have his name off the top of my head, but what he did was he'd vet products for dealers. So he'd say, hey, you're looking for X. I'll go out and do all the vetting, and then I'll recommend the product. And he would make money just doing the vetting.
And I enjoy doing that from the dealership level. I like working at corporate and vet everything and test everything. But it's great. I like building those relationships and who I can trust, because I wouldn't know Russell if it wasn't for the fact of vetting out his product and getting to know him and seeing what he was doing. But I also know that there is a psychotic mind at dealerships to cancel stuff. But getting back to the job thing, that is something that people do call me. I even changed my title this morning to I'm that guy, because Mike Lark and I were talking, and it's like, hey, I got a guy for that. I got a guy for that. And then I got about 3 phone calls right after Mike and I talked. And it's like, hey, somebody asked me if I knew a guy. Dave, can you help them with this? And I'm like, okay, but then when I look at the scope of work, is it something that's a parking lot issue that they're just talking about it, but they're not gonna act on it? Unfortunately, of those 3 phone calls, 2 out of the 3 were that type of situation. You wanna talk about it, you wanna call me in, but you don't really wanna fix it.
Yeah.
You know, most dealers are lazy and they just wanna throw money at the situation. I mean, that's why the foundation of their websites really don't work well. You know, you can have the best product website and you can get the most engagement. But if they don't use those phone calls, I mean, listen to that one manager that we had. He literally told us, yeah, I'm getting all the leads. And we're like, okay, do you respond to them? No.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, why would we delegate?
This is a service director, and David confronted the guy, or asked him a question, hey, all these video offers and engagement on the website, where are they going? He said, well, as I remember, David said, well, he said, I'm getting them. He said, oh, okay, what are you doing with them? Well, nothing.
Possession is half the battle, though.
But they told us the product is
Shut up.
if the new product is too expensive, you don't get any results. I said, well, I got 200 leads that came to you. And they went to your voicemail, and you didn't respond to one of them. So I'm like,
You can't fix stupid. Listen, I still want to hear from Sandy and Christian and Mike and Gary.
Yes.
Stan, tell us a comeback. Tell us something that you were here and then now you're back there.
I don't know I ever got anywhere to come back from.
You know, I mean, I think everybody has ups and downs. Some people have, and in the moment, like I know, you know, when I think about it, of course I had like a lot of places that I went that I wasn't intending to go. You know, things that weren't my right idea. And I've also made, you know, you know, a lot of you already know that, you know, I've been sober for 32 years. And so I had a whole different life, you know, prior to October 25th, 1993, where I had a lot of fun, but I sure am glad that I wasn't a conferences right now. It's not who you want to be at a conference. And, you know, so that led, living a new way led me on a journey of really figuring out who I was and who I wanted to be and the kind of person that I wanted to be. And so I figured that out, and that took a little bit of time. I was 26 when I got sober. So I started late in my career, really, because I waited tables and, you know, and then I stumbled into automotive purely by accident, right?
You stumbled, huh?
I stumbled. Well, I wasn't stumbling then, right? Because I was 4 or 5 years into it. So 1998, so 5 years. And, you know, where I fell into automotive purely by accident. And, you know, I found that path. And a lot of things happen. You know, I worked for the dealer for 20 years, some good things, some bad things. Life is full of good things and bad things, right? And I've been sitting here listening, and everybody's been talking about gratitude. I've heard the word, you know, a few times. And for me, when I can maintain an attitude of gratitude, even through difficult times, that's only to my good, right? And always I can find somebody who is worse off than me, no matter what I've done.
Yeah, just go to an AA meeting.
Well, or go anywhere, talk to anybody. It doesn't have to be on a recovery goal, right? You know, I mean, look at David, right? Look at what Alec just shared. You know, his wife with long COVID. That's real shit. Right? Like, she can't work anymore.
And he stepped up, just like we should. I love it.
And the other thing, you know, and I have had one thing that has popped in my head is I've been listening to everybody. You know, when I first opened my consulting in Beta Bio, and one of the things that I did, I had a recruitment business with and I don't talk about this, but it lasted 3 years and we were doing really, really well. And I was the person who really kind of just like brought clients to that. I did do some recruiting, but I hate sourcing candidates. I'll talk to people all day long. That's what I don't know about the part of sourcing, right? And my partners were people that I met on LinkedIn. They're in the UK. And anyway, one thing I've also learned is when I tell all the details of a story, I feel it all again. So long story short, I brought a lot of clients, right? And big clients, the biggest client that I did, and this happened right before COVID. The biggest client that I brought was Lazy Days RV. That they never would have met, because I met them at an HR conference. I met them at an HR conference. And it was just when they went public, so they had a whole bunch of money, and I was making $25,000. I didn't figure this split out. When I made a strategic error when we opened this LLC. It was me and the UK company. And I trusted what I thought was a 3-year friendship. And so I made a strategic error, and they pushed me out because, I was making money, and there wasn't anything I could do. I mean, there was. I could have fought it. Right, but I had to let that go. And of course, I'm certainly not making. I'm lucky every month if I make $5,000. Right?
Blessed.
I'm blessed if I make $5,000. But that's okay, because that's all I need. I have, as long as I'm doing the next right thing. This is my belief. As long as I'm doing the next right thing, and I am treating people the way that I want to be treated, I am behaving with integrity, I will always, right? And that has been my experience. And anyway, I still don't like those people.
It's okay, but you can love them where they're at and move on down the road.
It's interesting you say that.
And there's
Mike, let's hear a good comeback, man.
I don't think you can hear. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, you're good.
That's my first comeback. Well, mine would be. I'll give you a brief one because we don't have a ton of time, but it's about education. It's just about. My mom was married, divorced 3 times between me being sick, kindergarten, 6th grade. So I always went to a different school, and this was during the time in the 70s when they did this kind of learn at your own pace. So I would go to these schools. They'd be, "Where are you at?" And I was just lost. And so she finally moved to Quincy, Illinois when I was in 6th grade. Said, "We're going to stay here till you graduate. This is going to be your home." So she did. And there I was struggling. I remember in 8th grade going to remedial reading, just being really embarrassed. They figured I was dyslexic. But I was the best of my remedial readers. And I ended up getting finally out of there, the first one out, because no one wanted to be in this thing, But anyhow, nevertheless, I then turned around and kind of made reading my thing, because I was like, I'm gonna. So I did okay, but in school I always wondered, even though I was a voracious reader, I still was always wondering if I was smart. I never thought I was smart. So my whole family, my dad, my 2 uncles, and my grandpa all went to Augustana College in Rock Island, Illinois. It's a pretty good private college. Kenny Anderson, any Cincinnati Bengals fans, Kenny Anderson, that's our claim to fame. He went there. Anyway, nevertheless, I was scared to go. I couldn't go. I didn't think I could go there. I didn't even apply. So after I graduated high school, I went to Quincy Community College, and here's the story. I took 3 or 4 classes, but I took this sociology class, and I did this experiment in sociology. It was we had to do this live experiment and come back and write a story on it. So mine was to go in the mall, and I gave away dimes. So I had this big sign. I looked like Peanuts, like Lucy, and I had this thing that said, "Free dimes, no obligation." And so then I did a study on it. But what the study wasn't the issue. It was the sociology teacher gave me an A. He thought it was brilliant, super creative, and he took me. He made me believe, and that was the key. So and that's probably what led me to have a lot of empathy and want to get into coaching and learning and training and that type of stuff. I mean, I was in the Thunderdome for 20 straight years at a car dealership because I needed the money and all that stuff. But my heart was always, helping people and always coaching and training. I mean, everybody needs a coach. So, it really led me. I mean, that guy, Dr. Johnson, he believed in me. And so, I'll leave you with this quote. And here's what he did for me. And here was the comeback. And you guys can do this for somebody, hopefully someday too. And this quote's by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And it's treat a man as he is and will remain as he is. Treat a man as he could be and he'll become what he should be.
Wow.
And his protege was Thoreau, who said, most men lead lives of quiet desperation. Why would you want to get up every day and be miserable and just perpetuate that? Hey, because time is slipping away. Gary or Mike, whoever wants to go first.
Can I ask one more time for Christian to say that again? I need to write that down.
It's a treat a man as he is, and he will remain as he is. But if you treat a man as he could be, he will become what he should be. It's Ralph Waldo Emerson. He's got some good ones. That's one of them.
Mike Larkin, go ahead. You're usually at the tail end anyways. Go ahead.
All right. Let's see. David Rozak, the wishbone and the buzzer. So that was my downfall. The wacky doctors game. So I had to take out the battery so that the buzzer
The red nose
wouldn't go off. Yeah. So I was the one that took out the batteries. Don't tell anyone.
Mike, we're in the car business. Guys used to have an engine light on, and instead of fixing it, they would pull the little bowl down. You're not shocking anybody on this program. It's the car business.
I got one for Tony T. Tony T, did you say you worked for the Boucher group? Boucher? I can't hear you.
That's because he's muted.
Oh.
Gordy Boucher. Yep. Lincoln Road, bunch of stores in
okay.
Wisconsin.
I was thinking of Bobby Boucher.
Oh, no.
You got it? Okay.
I went for a ride once with him.
Yeah. On President's Day 2020 or 2014, I had a stroke. Spent 10 days in Baltimore hospital. Couldn't say a word. I'm like, damn. I'm having arguments in my own head, and I'm losing them all. I'm like, damn. So it's like gonna be like this. So the good man upstairs is planning something for me. I don't know what. I'm going around telling car dealers and vendors. Do you remember February 2020? I was virtually walking around with our good friend Paul Meyer, and his phone was live streaming at the time the NAD hate in Las Vegas. And the next month, I was getting calls for follow-up my phone saying, we can't pay you. Anybody experienced that as a vendor? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's why I'm so adamant about this ED82 is we've got the tools to make our clients visible, but I don't want to only do it for my agency. I want to help my friends not go through this again because it's going to happen and it's already starting to happen. My question to general managers and principals is, are your leads going down offline? And they all say yes, but we don't go offline. And I said, look it up for yourself. What am I going to say, David Rozak?
Well, I think the problem is that the source of truth is one thing.
Yeah.
AT is another thing. But I think that I sat with a tech company, and they're a wonderful sound company. They have 1,100 dealers as clients. They have affiliations with a couple other companies too, with iHeart and some other people. But as we started talking about the future of marketing, I said, how are you going to deal with the agent-to-agent protocol? And they looked at me and said, explain. And I'm like, okay, you guys are one of the top data companies in the country. And they're a data backbone behind so many other companies that are non-automated. And they're like, we never thought about that. And I said, well, you're going to have to. You're going to have to figure out how AI agents are going to be able to communicate with the dealer's AI agents, or it's going to make a phone call and talk to a person and start scheduling. First, it's going to be service. Then it's going to slowly creep into the dealership and buying cars. And it's going to be a different version of digital retailing, but actually an AI agent that can look at your website, see that you're the answer, call you, or it has to go through an API. I said, and when this happens, you're going to see some shrinkage, because what happens with F&I folks? What happens with the general manager's role? You're probably going to, GMs probably won't exist in another couple of years. If this
David, more importantly is what happens to the vendor? What happens to the vendor when the dealership is losing their online?
They're going to get cut, just like they did at the beginning of COVID. Everybody cut their budget, man.
Yes, sir.
Starting with marketing.
Yep, it went to marketing, and
Hey guys, we got a couple minutes left. Is that Joe Jackson who jumped in?
What's
JJ?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, I'm
going to talk to you. My name is Mr. Silman. We're talking about comebacks, personal things, family things. We started off with Nissan and CDJR. Tell us, and thank you so much for joining us, Joe. We appreciate it.
Yeah, sorry. These cheerleaders are walking by me. I'm at the field. They're marching like they're in the military, but they're going away. Okay, got it.
You're not going to screen the cheerleaders?
No. I'll be quiet.
It wasn't my idea. It was Mike Mark. Just too shy to mention.
It
Tell us about a
wasn't
comeback
me.
and wind up with Mr. Silman.
Well, I don't know what were you guys talking about? Just anything in general in life?
Comeback.
I
Comeback
mean,
story.
You've had that turned out to be blessed.
Oh wow. Oh, that's interesting. Let me see. That's I mean, I don't even I don't even have any. I'm trying to think of any professionally. I mean, you always have these little ones, but I haven't really had like a major one. I mean, but listen, when I was a kid, one of the things that I think has affected me and my life, when I was about 7 going on 8, I had a traumatic brain injury that like changed a lot of different things. Like I hit my head really hard, was concussed, got concussed a couple of times, lost my hearing, lost my balance. I was actually on the table for brain surgery, and they knocked me out and decided not to do it. So I mean, I talked about it with my mom recently, because there was some like highlights that she didn't tell me, that it was kind of like after they took me away from her, and then like a few minutes later they went back to her, and so she was concerned. She started crying because she thought that they were going to say they lost me or something. But so that was very tough when I was a kid. That couldn't walk, couldn't play contact sports, couldn't do anything, and it took a couple of years. But I was able to, just live a normal life, and got most of my hearing back, and got a lot of things back. And so I'm happy where I ended up, and I don't know where I would have ended up if that didn't happen to me. So I look at that as a blessing more than anything else.
Joe, we're so glad you're okay. And before we jump to Gary Silman, just keep in mind, this is a program about a community. If any of you do suffer a traumatic brain injury, just go into recruiting. Because if I can make it with my brain not working, anybody can.
I love you, Larry.
As everybody has said, life has plenty of peaks and plenty of valleys. And I go back over my years, and I look at, and I say that I had 3 peaks and I had 3 valleys. And now I'm working on the last peak. But as a success story, back in 1989, I opened up a used car lot. And I thought I was going to be a big shot and have a big dealership and eventually get to be a new car dealer. Well, that didn't work. So 1993, I went to work for Herb Chambers in Mitsubishi as a finance manager. And I turned 40 years later working for Herb when I left. I ended up being the finance director over 3 of his stores. I had, I think, 6 F&I guys and 3 or 4 subprime guys. And there was a monthly contest that Herb would sponsor where it was your PRU times your VSC penetration. And I think that my location won it like 36 times in a row once we got it ramped up. So I look back at the Herb Chambers days of 1993 to 1997 is where I really learned how the industry operated. And so I'm proud to say that I had a couple of years where I was a business manager of the year and I won a bunch of awards. So that was a peak. I had a couple other peaks, and now I'm looking forward to working with several of the people on this show and creating the 4th and last peak. So thank God for everybody here. The Wednesday nights have definitely helped get through all the tough days, but we're working onward and upward. And thanks for everybody listening. And at the end, I close out the show as everybody has a great night. And August is plenty of promise for everybody as the dealerships need our help to help them get back on track. So I look forward to working with lots of you guys and building a nice network of helping dealers grow their business.
Hey, everybody, it's 8:01. Everybody stay healthy. You have no idea how much we appreciate you, respect you, and we're looking forward to seeing all of you if you can make it in next week. And, thank you all so much.
Ciao. Ciao.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you for helping the industry get better today live.